The franchise hot seat is for information and entertainment purposes and is not an offer to sell franchises. If the hot seat introduces you to a franchise concept that interests you, you must do your own due diligence before making an investment. Welcome to the Franchise Hot Seat. I'm your host, John Hayes, Director of the Franchise Center at Palm Beach Atlantic University. Next up in the hot seat, we feature a fast, casual health food franchise concept to be evaluated by our dream team. Let me introduce you to the dream team for this presentation. These elite executives are superstars in their industries and in franchising. CEO of United Franchise Group, Ray Titus. Co-founder of Crank Enterprises, a venture marketing company, Brian Margolis. President of franchise operations at Fran Connect, Keith Gerson. And the always amazing CEO of Exploring Your Potential Ventures, Jennifer Kuchel. Now welcome to the hot seat, the founder and COO of Shaka Bowl, Krista Gormley.
Hi, my name is Krista Gormley. I'm the founder, owner, and operator of Shaka Bowl, located in Hoboken, New Jersey. Shaka Bowl is a fast casual health food restaurant that was inspired by the Hawaiian cuisine. In 2014, I lived in Hawaii with my elder sister, Kirsten, and we came back to New York City with the idea of opening a fast casual restaurant that embodied not only the culture, but the cuisine that we found on the Big Island. In 2015, my sister was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and it put a huge plague on our overall world. As we were getting ready to open the restaurants, it put an important focus on our mission to sell healthy food as medicine, essentially. In our first year in business, we did $1.3 million in sales out of just 600 square feet. Having been 4 years in business, we are just learning how to operate a business rather than run a business. We have tidied up our numbers in the last year. We have gotten our cost on goods down to 30%. Our wages have been up to 27.4%. Our prime cost is at 57.4%, and we have a gross margin of 42.6%. I can only do so much with those numbers. Having opened the restaurant when I was 22 years old, I am now only 27 years old with 2 restaurants that continue to prove the need and demand for a healthy living. I am hoping with the help from the dream team that you guys can help me clean up those numbers and help me license to sell this place fast and grow quickly.
Well, aloha, Krista. And let me just say, first off, I love the brand that you've created. I think you and your sister are doing a phenomenal job at such a young age. For me, there's nothing more rewarding than watching young entrepreneurs like yourself. Like I myself started at a very young age. Then you have, guys like Ray and Keith who have many, many more years of experience as well. But, Jen and I will kind of help bring that age down a little bit along with you, Krista. But here's the deal. The restaurant industry obviously took a huge hit this past year. We all know that. But it's also given opportunities like Shaka an even bigger opportunity to pivot and grow. You mentioned the healthy quick serve option that you're doing, and people are more conscious of what they're putting in their bodies. I agree with that 100%. And the healthy quick serve option, it was very hot pre-pandemic. And I have no doubt it's going to be even hotter post-pandemic. Add to that, really the growing number of people who are looking to get more control of their careers, more control of their lives, and they're turning to franchising as an option. So to me, that really sounds like the perfect wave and one that I'm personally interested in riding with you. Okay. So here's, I guess, a few things to keep in mind in growing your franchise community. Number one, identify a bulletproof process that you can scale. Okay. Realize there are some things that you can control and others you can't. Okay. But you have to have a plan for both. Number two, package and brand your process. And don't just do it in a way that makes sense to you. You have to make sure that it's scalable for all involved make sure you're packaging it in a way that's easily translated and transferable, okay? From training, operations, and especially marketing. That's, my wheelhouse is on that piece of it. And taking the guesswork completely out of the hands of your franchise partners, okay? Really drive that. And that really leads me to number 3. And most importantly, as a franchisor, to take control, okay? You need to protect your process and your brand every single day. The larger that you grow your franchise system, the more difficult that it's going to become to really manage that, okay? Especially if you do and grow that all before 1 and 2 is in place, all right? So if you do this, you will attract the right people to your brand, the right people to your team, and they'll be successful, because they only have to focus on one thing, and that's simply distribution of the Shaka Bowl brand, right? So, you've got the energy, you've got the concept, you've got the aloha. Now it's time to find the right partners to join your team. So I guess really the only question I have to you is when would you like to get started?
As soon as possible. I guess that's my biggest thing is the like you said, the need and demand for healthy living is there. With the digital world that we live in, everyone is aware there's no taking back the things that people have learned, that dairy, soy, these things that put plagues on especially young females. 2 out of my 6 best friends face thyroid issues, which is based on the food and the way that it is distributed in America. It's not focused on the people, it's focused on, money, which at the end of the day, I guess that's the way it is. But Shaka Bowl is hopefully going to be there to give people a healthy option to turn to. And I'm pretty excited to really take it somewhere with you guys.
Well, I think it's exciting from hearing this. I think, you look at this concept and it's beyond a concept because you've proven the model. The numbers sound really, really good. Obviously, the healthy food is an area that is exciting and growing. We have a food division here at United Franchise Group, and we have 2 food brands in it, and so the John Smith Subs and the Great Greek, and so we're getting a lot of leads and a lot of people that show interest in the food side of things. And I think that when you look at franchising, don't look to jump out and sell 100 locations. Okay, what you want to do is you want to get your foot wet a little bit here. You want to target a couple of key employees that you could use for support and training and sell a couple franchises. Now, if you can't do that yourself, Krista, then you could, hire somebody on a consulting basis. I wouldn't hire a full-time person at this stage because I'd want to get it going first. We have a company called Accurate Franchising. There's a lot of companies that specialize in that area where they could get into the sales and marketing side. One thing I think that you may want to really start to develop and promote, and Brian can help with this as well, but getting a charity of choice and really getting behind one and make that, a piece of every sale or a piece of every, shake that goes out or whatever. There's a lot of that out there now, and I think that that's something that you guys may be able to do a little more with as you grow the business and develop it. But I would target a couple key employees within your system right now that you have with your locations, and look to grab somebody that is already experienced that could work with the support and help the training side of things before you start to hire a whole bunch of people.
Right. So if I'm allowed to interject and go on, that has been something that I've put a key focus on in the last year. While the pandemic was a huge plague on everyone, it was a huge opportunity for us to sit back and be like, listen, we should tidy these numbers up. We should perfect our operations. We should be training the managers to be aware of their staff and try to get them within margin. That if they meet those margins, there's going to be some sort of reward. Any money that the company makes is money that they could be making back themselves. Getting them involved in inventory on a heavy doses every Wednesday at 6 a.m. We have all 5 of our managers there counting everything and putting it into Restaurant 365. So these last 6 months have been about gearing the said managers who are here with us and believe in the brand and want to grow with us, and really kind of training them to be able to be another representative of the company. So I appreciate that advice. Thank you.
Hi, Krista. So awesome to meet you. One of my favorite phrases is, especially for young entrepreneurs, is surround yourself with success. It is critical for all of us, especially when we're young and learning a new industry or a new model, to be surrounded constantly by people far more experienced than we are, so we can constantly up our game. Some of the biggest success stories in franchising have been created by big franchisors and big brand owners sitting in rooms with people who were, 100 stores ahead of them or 1,000 stores ahead of them. So I think one of my biggest pieces of advice is make sure that you're surrounding yourself with experienced operators. Get them as part of your team if you can. Bring them in as mentors and advisors. They're going to help you up your game. And being a young entrepreneur, other people who are more experienced are always going to be looking at us saying, should we replace them? Should we just bring other people in? They can do this faster. It's critical that you're constantly upping your game, which sounds like you've really been doing over these past few months, but never stop on that path. The other really big thing I wanted to talk about is the scalability and the actual franchise model. You've built a really impressive operation doing over $1 million in sales with a very small unit. But the key to franchise success is in building a successful model that can be replicated. Right. And what I want to know is what you've been doing to ensure that you have that model of replicability in. Because for you to have a successful franchise, you've got to not only know your own business, but prove that you can scale it, prove that you can make other people money too. And so a lot of people will say, always try to have 3 to 5 units operating before you start franchising. What milestones or kind of model are you looking at to ensure your success when you do open the doors as a franchise?
Right. So in terms of models, we technically began this path with 2 different models. So we have the 600 square foot one, and we have the one that's almost 1,200 feet. We realized we were safer to go with a model that is somewhere in between those 2, right? So the same build out, right? The one location operates exactly the same as the other, but there's more extra space, more fluff to it. We realized we do not need that space, whereas if you, similar thinking as a Dunkin' Donuts, right? They have the register within X amount of feet of the coffee machine. That way somebody could be taking an order and making a coffee almost simultaneously, right? That would be something similar in our model, less footsteps for the employees in order to streamline and be a quick, effective operation. So we are moving towards a model like that, where you need less employees and you can operate at a higher capacity. So pretty much figuring out that kind of model for me is most important. It could never be Chipotle layout with the 2 different concepts, but it could be a similar Panera structure where they order and then they pick up and you can see the whole production. One of my key values with my models will be, having those open glass kitchens where they can see the fresh food being prepared and trust and believe in the values and the core elements, the transparency of the brand. That will be like, I trust this place. They're not a Jamba Juice that's putting, puree in my smoothie. We're going to see tons of fresh fruit. You're going to see honest, hardworking people preparing your food. You want to put real core values into the models of the restaurants. So,
Krista, you and your sister have really created something quite remarkable. I mean, to be able to say that in your first location, you generated $1.3 million in 600 square foot is almost unheralded. And it's going to be very, very important for you to really, really keep your overhead, not just for you, but for your franchisees down. Cash is everything at this stage of the game. One of the very most important inflection points for you is going to be that initial growth. But you can't lose sight, obviously, of each and every location that opens, because on one end of the spectrum, it's the lifeblood of opening up new locations is going to be so important to you, but choosing right and making sure that those initial franchisees that you do select are able to replicate the type of numbers that you did in that first location is just an imperative for you. So a couple of things that I wanted to focus on with you is growth. I know that royalty self-sufficiency is really what you want and need to be keeping an eye on. And it really, for many, and it varies by industry and types, but for many, it's 50, 60, 75 locations before people no longer have to sell a franchise to be profitable. And
Right.
one of the biggest mistakes that new franchisors make is to rush into selling franchises. And it's very, very important for you to have a very, very clear vision of who is the right person for you. Is it going to be a person that loves being back in the kitchen and preparing food? And I don't think so. It's going to be somebody that is able to take your brand into the community and build awareness and leverage promoters and make sure that the experience that everyone has is a memorable one, which I know is part of your values at this point in time. So I think KPIs are really, really important to know what the right ones are, and dollars per square foot is going to be great, but your customer experience KPIs is going to be critical. Your franchise sales KPIs are going to be critical, and profitability. That's what it takes. So if you want franchisees that are going to be happy and validate for you, you got to help them find success. So I'm just curious if you would take one moment to talk about catering, because you're in New Jersey, and I would imagine that you've had large urban centers that, or work centers where now people are working remote. And I'm just wondering where and how you're going to pivot within your business to either be able to take and expand with other channels, or if you've figured that out as you look at expanding across the country.
If I'm understanding, you're asking about catering, right? Is that your
Yes.
question?
Yeah.
So with catering, we've done a few since the pandemic has hit, and the whole scope of catering has probably changed forever. Not forever, I would say, until we get a grasp on this and find a way to, handle what we have been given. Everything's got to be single serve portions. It's got to be very clean. It's got to have packaging that is sustainable to transfer. We have done catering for Snapchat. We used to be in Goldman Sachs's corporate kitchen. We were doing that for about a year, and I believe that those things have taken a tremendous hit, and they will continue to until this passed. That building in itself had over 10,000 workers in it, and they're all still remote. So for us, it is going to be, first of all, catering in itself is something you can't just, not anyone can just execute. If you ever had to make food for almost even 10 people, you're like, wow, I need to make twice as much food than I thought I needed to make. But catering is going to be all about individual packaging, sustainability, finding ways to transfer that food while not compromising the quality of it. And that is something that we put a huge emphasis on, is definitely treating every customer like it's their first time dining with us, whether Joe's order in the back of your head and you can do it with your eyes closed. It is making sure that Joe feels like it's his first time there every single time. And that is the core thing that we want to push along to anyone we cater to, anyone that comes into our doors. It's about feeling the love, the aloha, and, leaving satiated, whether, you ate spinach in your smoothie or, you went a little more indulgent with our tacos. It's about honesty and sustainability, as you were saying.
And one last thing, and that is continue to keep a clear delineation between what you do and what your sister as co-founder does. So you're not crossing into each other's areas. Respect
Right.
that turf, hold your lines, but be very, very clear once you start growing your business, who's going to own sales, who is going to own unit level economics and franchisee profitability.
Right. So that's something with my sister and I that people always think is very cool. Our tasks are super delegated. She does XYZ, I do this, and there is never even a discussion or argument about it. It's like, I don't even need to pay attention. She will send me an email and I'll just be like, yep, that's my job. I'll handle it. Marketing operations, the team. I will never tell a chef how to cook because that is not my way.
So it certainly sounds like there's a lot of great advice on the table for you, Krista. And I know from my seat, at least, you certainly have won the hearts over from the dream team. The investment and the experience that you're seeking to me is sitting right in front of you. Not just, myself, but Ray, Keith, Jen, I think, can all see the opportunity and the passion that you have in your business and your model. So certainly we want to say mahalo, mahalo for joining us today, sharing the aloha that is Shaka Bowl. And we wish you and your sister continued success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us for the Franchise Hot Seat. And remember, our purpose is to inform and educate. We are not selling franchises. Do your homework before investing in any business. Franchising is a powerful methodology for business ownership, and it may be the best way for you to own a business and build personal wealth. But franchising is not without risk, and it's not for everyone. Some quick thank yous to our sponsors. Since its founding in 1999 by IFA Hall of Fame honoree Tariq Fareed, Edible has been at the forefront of supporting franchising and entrepreneurship as a path to the American dream. Support your local Edible franchise outlets. Transworld Business Advisors is the world leader in the marketing and sales of businesses, franchises, and mergers and acquisitions. They've got 240 offices worldwide. Accurate Franchising is a full-service franchise consulting and development company that assists brands with developing franchise business models, along with assisting existing franchisors brand expansion through franchise sales services. Crank Enterprises is a venture marketing company introducing a modern-day twist to private equity. Their mission? Turn ideas into dough. You want to sit in the hot seat? Or have you got a question for us? Visit TitusCenterForFranchising.com and let us hear from you. I'm John Hayes, leading the Titus Center for Franchising, where we're educating the next franchise generation.